Figure that out. I appreciate that. You're one of those that you never really do.
All right, this meeting will begin. I'm Silver. I am the newly voted upon chair. Thank you all, members of the public, for being here. I think I needed this.
Are we all on? Sorry, she's gonna be the tech lady.
Oh, I'll bang this again. We are beginning today's meeting. Thank you all for being here. We welcome the public and your concerns and points of view and statements. The first item on the agenda is salute to the flag, and I'm going to ask Mr. Kaplan.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now do your roll call. Starting on my right, announce yourself as a trustee.
Mosley present. Thank you, Trustee Jack present.
Thank you, Trustee Jacks.
Trustee Rogers, remote, but present.
Thank you, Trustee Rogers. We will now begin the public comment section of this meeting. It is a three-minute time limit per person.
What?
And I have a sign-in sheet here, which does not prevent anyone from deciding to make public comment on this sign-in sheet. But we will begin with John Wilson, and then Bruce Foster, and then Nathan Brown.
Well, I'm right here.
Testing one, two.
Press and hold that pad.
Oh.
That'll get you there.
Testing. Good evening. I'm going to start off with the meeting with everyone's favorite subject, statistics. Over the years, there have been a number of studies across the world conducted regarding suicide rates in LGBT+ adolescents. The numbers have held at the same rate over the years. LGBT+ adolescents are 4 times as likely to commit suicide as their peers. An adolescent who happens to be trans is 6 to 8 times as likely to commit suicide than their peers. I think we can all agree that that's horrible. My heart goes out to all the kids and their friends and families who are left with a gaping emptiness where a child once was. So how do we help improve the situation as a society? Funny thing is, these LGBTQ+ adolescents have been widely surveyed and that they have told us. One big one is access to spaces where they are felt welcome. That's all simple. Preferably that would be a home, but the next best thing is any place with an inclusive environment where they do not feel alone. Books do that. Reading books helps you not feel alone, knowing that you have shared experiences with someone else. In regards to the recent attempts to remove LGBT+ friendly material from our wonderful library system, these books are not pornography. They are not turning any child gay. They are a way for these children to feel less alone in this world. They are a way for their peers to understand their situation and empathize with them. They're a way to combat fear of the unknown. They also are a pathway for parents to have tricky, possibly uncomfortable conversations with their children. A way for parents to educate themselves as well. A way for parents to let their kids know that they are safe, loved, and accepted. It is also a way for their peers to accept them. The facts lead to one inescapable reality. Members of the LGBT+ community need the support of the community. Their dads, their moms, their teachers, their neighbors, their aunts and uncles, their library board trustees, their peers, their librarians. This is not tomorrow's issue, and this is not a task that we can shrug off as somebody else's problem. It's right now, it's all of us. We need to be better. There are lives at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Bruce Foster.
Yeah, good afternoon, Bruce Foster for the record. Before I get started on reading from a really wonderful book from the teen section, I wish to donate a couple of wonderful books. One is Bad Therapy, Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up by Abigail Schreier. And it is in virtually every way that can be measured, Gen Z's mental health is worse than the previous generations. Youth suicide rates are climbing, antidepressant prescription for children are common, and the proliferation of mental health diagnoses has not helped the staggering number of kids who are lonely, lost, sad, and fearful of growing up. What's wrong with American youth? And then Love Thy Body, another wonderful one by Nancy Percy. And that one is the most profound theological response to the secular worldview. Nancy Percy has huge influence on Seth Gruber's cultural philosophy. She brings fascinating insight on the transgender, abortion, family structure issues of America. And I just wish to donate to help those that have issues with the social contagion that is going around in our culture today. What I have here is a book that I got out of the teens section, and in the teens section, what is a teen? Teenagers, 13 to 17 years. During adolescence, teenagers are learning to define who they are and to develop their own values, priorities, and goals. Teenagers are also gaining a sense of belonging to a community and to the world around them. I got this book out of the teen section, and so 13-year-olds can be able to get this book. It's called Looking for Alaska by John Green. And we found plenty of porn magazines. This is page 87. Porn magazines haphazardly stuffed in between mattresses and box springs. Turns out that Hank Walston did like something other than basketball and pot. He liked jugs. But we didn't find a movie until Room 32, The Bitches of Madison County. Well, ain't that just delightful? We ran with it to the TV room, closed the blinds, locked the door, watched the movie. It opened with a woman standing on a bridge with her legs spread while a guy knelt in front of her, giving her oral sex.
So we're gonna.
And give it to me, and moaning, and so her eyes brown and blank, betrayed and lack of interest.
Mr. Foster, can we ask you not to read portions of the book to us?
And then, so this book is available, and what is the protocol for teenagers? Are they allowed to check this out? It's in your teen section, and how do they, Chairman, we've been through this many times before. I've given you lots of videos and information.
I'm sorry, sir, your time is up. Thank you for your comments.
So it's mental rape, which you're
Thank you.
proposing.
It will be. It will be.
And we have a bunch of perverts on this board.
You gotta fix the microphone.
Nathan Brown?
That's me.
Are you going by the sign-in list, or are you going by line here?
I have two sign-in lists.
Okay, okay.
Everyone will get their turn.
But there's a, it says next in line, I just didn't know which was
There
priority.
were two sign-up lists, so I'm getting to everybody. I don't know who signed up at what time, but everyone will be called.
I think that's just a random line. Yes, but that makes it confusing.
I will call those individuals who have
No, I
registered for
understand
public
that
comment.
list, it's that.
Mr. Brown, please proceed.
Thank you, appreciate that. Sorry. Hello?
Press and hold it to 10.
Take your
Hello, okay, thank you very much, my apologies. It was not my intention to come here and speak today. I came here in support of another speaker, and to be perfectly frank, after seeing some of the people here and hearing some of their sentiments, I don't think I'm going to return, because I don't feel safe in this place. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I want to be able to come to a public place where I can reach out to people other than my family and discuss difficult subjects. And sometimes that involves researching, sometimes that involves literature that it seems other people would frankly rather remove, or promote pseudoscience that has been discredited, theological nonsense about how transgenderism is some sort of agenda that is undermining the American public. Tolerance of transgender people is not some sort of attack on your religion, sir. Your religious books are allowed in this library with all of their incest and violence. And I feel that they should be, because they too are of a public interest. Your religious books and books about the LGBTQ community, to create a multicultural, plural society. So, on that note, I am leaving. Thank you for your time, and those of you who have helped protect the LGBTQ community, especially those of you who have the confidence to come here today and every meeting to voice your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next, Joni Hammond, followed by Cliff Nellis.
Good evening, Chair and Library Trustees. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. Looks like things went terribly wrong. And it's interesting to me how the commenters continue to say that we have something against the LGBTQ, whatever that they're called by the day, audience. We don't have anything, I don't have anything against them. What I have against them is what they're doing or trying to do to the children. Number one, Drag Queen Story Hour. It was not a wonderful program. Who would think that men dressing up as a woman is good for kids? Number two, Washow County does not want this program. Very few people attended. I was at both events. Number three, libraries are supposed to be for everyone. Yet we see that enables predators by welcoming obscene books into the library, both heterosexual and homosexual, and allow drag queens, adult sexual entertainers, to be around children. Number four, no one has the right to confuse and abuse children, and that's what's happening.
Next, we have Cliff Nellis, followed by Nassim Khalil.
Don't be deceived by these tactics they use. Well, we're afraid of them. Actually, I mean, we should be afraid of some of them, because when you go against human nature and practice homosexual sex, you're violating the laws of nature. And it really is a mental disorder. It causes mental imbalance in these people. And that's why they commit suicide. It's not because of us. It's not because we're saying what they're doing is morally wrong. You have to have moral disapprobation or disapproval of immoral behavior. We disapprove of people speeding on the freeway. We disapprove of people committing rape and murder and things like that. The crime, what used to be the crime of sodomy, which is still really a crime, is an antisocial behavior that normal people, that are normal sexual people, cannot really live in a society. There is no living together. The reason why is because these people have lost control of their sexual their desires. They become predators. They seek sex with anything and everything, eventually. I mean, it's an insatiable appetite, and it's contrary to nature, and it creates mental confusion and all kinds of things. And we don't, as normal sexual people, we don't like perversion in our libraries and in our schools. So the library thing is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, Mr. Scott here is, he has his own persuasion, and he has filled the library with his way of thinking. Everyone that works for him is in his way of thinking. It's really a hostile environment for us to come to these atheistic, pagan libraries. And so we're trying to say, hey, please don't just target our children, And we get resistance. Why? Because they don't know boundaries. They used to know boundaries, but they don't anymore. And so we're asking the board to set boundaries, and everyone used to agree, even the people in the gay movement, they'd agree, and then even there's still some of them that would say, no, children are off limits. And it's just really a lack of common sense, and we're just trying to give reason, and we like civility, and we actually do love our LGBT friends. We don't hate them. They built these straw men and false narratives in order to support their arguments, and just don't believe them, please.
Thank you, sir. Nassim? Shania?
Hi, good evening. Nassim Jamni for the record, that's N as in Nancy, A-S-E-E-M as in Mary, J-A-M as in Mary, N as in Nancy, I-A. As always, I'd like to affirm my support for the library system, our library staff, and our library director, and express my appreciation for shifting the board's focus back to library business. I'm glad to see the tax initiative is on today's agenda, and appreciate the presentation Director Scott put together that was included in that packet. What I'd like to know is what the board can do to support the initiative and to combat any misinformation about the fund. As I said last month, I appreciate that the library, and therefore the board, cannot tell people how to vote. But we must do everything we can to make sure voters have accurate information about this fund. Across the nation, public libraries are being defunded and have become battlegrounds for ultranationalist, totalitarian ideologies. Public libraries are some of the last third spaces left in our society, a place where anyone, regardless of background, identity, or class, can access resources for free. Keeping our public libraries funded and accessible to all is a vital part of keeping our democracy alive in a time where it's deeply threatened. Please remember that we have separation of church and state in this country. Using any religion as a measure of your decisions is completely inappropriate. I would also like to remind you that Looking for Alaska came out in the early 2000s. Publishing has changed a lot in the past 20 years. I am more than happy to talk to the board as what publishing nowadays entails as a traditionally published author. I will say that when I read that book in the early 2000s, I felt very seen because my peers were having conversations about sex, and the book does have frank conversations about sex that I feel were completely age appropriate. The author was also very kind. He has since become a best-selling, award-winning author. But putting today's standards on books that were published 20 years ago is silly. And in fact, not looking at trade professionals, such as librarians, to decide what is curated in our libraries does not make sense to me. I just want to thank you all for what you're doing. I appreciate that you are here to support our library system and its staff and its director, and I hope that we can focus on library business. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeff Nell.
Greetings, I'm Jeff Nell of Nevada Mass Resistance Fight the LGBTQ political agenda, and that's what it is. I'm going to read here in the book of Psalms. Psalms 2, starting in verse 1. Why do the heathens rage and the people's image vain things? And the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed one, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. You need to wake up and understand the LGBTQ is nothing but political, absolute political. We in the mass resistance, we got found pedophiles in Drag Queen Story Hour.
Sir, would you
That's right.
Comments to the board, please? Thank you.
All right, drag queens, pedophiles. All right. See, you don't do background checks. All right. Another thing, they do things on YouTube and they do things of oral sex and so on. I can be really graphic. But you want to encourage children to become perverts. That's what you want to do. You're a violation of the law, a Nevada state law. What you're doing is malfeasance. And that's the way they take you out. It says in there, you can miss 3 meetings, you'll be rejected. Or your term runs out. But it's malfeasance, and that's what you're doing. Things you don't care about the children, you don't care about the political thing because you're communist. Majority of you, not all of you, but majority of you are communists, especially the director and his cronies and the library staff. Giving an 86 is what it's called, when you don't have a legal right to do that whatsoever. I'm in the process of suing your sorry asses because what you're doing is wrong. You're going to kill freedom of speech. It's my First Amendment to say whatever I want, whatever I gotta say, but there's decorum. But the excuse to put me and kick me out of the library was inexcusable. I did not violate any law, only your policies, because Director Jeff Scott is a sexual deviant. You need to be waking up and fire his sorry ass. Fire him and his cronies, because what they're doing is leading children to do sexual things. And on the surface it looks good. You need to wake up. I would say you come to Christ so you can live. I'm pissed, but it's a righteous anger, because you're allowing the political philosophies and ideology of communism to destroy this nation go through, because you're stupid. You're irresponsible. Yeah, right, Jeff Scott. Keep an eye on me, because I'm coming after you.
I'd avoid making any
14 seconds. Now, I'm going to continue on. But come to Christ, because he's the one that can give you to discern the difference between good and evil, because what you're allowing the political philosophies of the Democrats are communists and want to take this nation down. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll next proceed with Val White, to be followed by Janet Butcher.
My comments today are to inform this board that Director Scott needs to be removed from his position permanently. Some of you may not have been on the board last winter when I attended several community coffees that Trustee Jax held at a local coffee shop. She held the gatherings to provide the community an opportunity for input and comment on our libraries. I was present at one of these gatherings when Director Scott was in attendance. I asked Trustee Jax if she had invited him. No, she hadn't, and she had no idea why he was present. I watched him placing himself in Trustee Jack's vicinity in order to hear her conversations. I decided to ask him myself why he was there. Are you trying to intimidate her, to control her, to censor her, to counter her efforts to get public input? I asked him those questions directly. I told him that I thought it was improper for him to be there, and his response was, I'm a member of the public. I can be here too. This isn't an unexpected response from Scott, as most of his communications with anyone other than his sycophants are very adolescent. I had hopes that the trustees of this board would address Scott's performance and his position as director with and using a valid and professional performance evaluation. But in over a year, that has failed to happen. Why? Why are trustees on this board protecting a director who has created nothing but dissent and unnecessary drama in the community? He bullies, illegally bans library patrons, insults and derides them, and uses affiliations with LGBTQ groups in the county as his personal army of terrorists to harass, assault, and batter library patrons. Scott wouldn't last 5 minutes in any professional organization or business. It's disgusting that this board continues to protect and support Scott by refusing to conduct a professional review performance. That decision can only speak to this board having serious concerns about him, but not wanting them exposed. If any employee deserves to be terminated, it's Scott. And to address previous comments, secularism today is the dominant religion, and nowhere in the Constitution does it declare separation of church and state. I look forward to the day when that is corrected. It's too widespread a misconception.
Thank you. Janet Butcher, to be followed by Sandy Tibbet.
Janet Butcher, for the record, please enter my comments into the minutes verbatim. Seems that we have a problem with that, but thanks, Val, for bringing that up, because I also wrote down a note about there is a mistaken understanding about what separation of church means. Separation of church means that the government cannot dictate to you which church or religion you must follow. I want to highlight the fact that Trustee Jax has been the only trustee that has ever opened herself up to invite the public to speak to her about what they feel the library should be about. No other trustee has done that. I filed an open meeting law violation for ignoring me and having my hand up at the last meeting. I had my hand up when you were voting on the chair and the vice chair, for which I had Trustee Jax's phone number, and I called her directly and kept yelling into the phone, "I have my hand up." Jeff ignored it. Also, I must have missed something at the beginning, because the third guy that got up and spoke about somebody talking about something, I didn't hear it. But one of the things that we talk about is the sexual books being handed to children. If you think that's okay, do it in your home. In fact, I dare you to go out on the street and hand out those books, and I'll bet you'll be arrested. At yesterday's commission meeting, Commissioner Hill and Garcia were more upset about a swath of cloth than what they are about pornographic books and materials being promoted in our library. I have an article that someone wrote, and I'm going to hand it out to everybody, but just in summary, it talks about some of the things that went on at the last library meeting. And at the very end, this person writes, "What's next? Minor attracted persons play hour?" I think that unfortunately, that the community, they call themselves a community, I thought we were all a community, but that their community, since they call it that, they want perversion. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Tibbet.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Madam Chair. The Zoom folks online can't hear that microphone, so I was just seeing if she was able to turn that up. Okay, the Zoom. And do you know how many people are on Zoom? Can anybody see that?
There's 23 people on Zoom.
23 on Zoom.
And they're able to
Can we hear, there's no way to know besides me
Well, we
saying.
can ask Al, he's virtual, so.
Trustee Jackson, I'm sorry. Trustee Rogers, are you able to hear us on Zoom?
Is everything clear?
Yes.
Are you able to, is there clarity?
Yes, everything is clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sandy Tibbet.
Sandy Tibbet for the record. So NRS 379040, library to be free and accessible to the public, regulations of trustees, which are you guys, right? The library and reading room of any consolidated county district or town library must forever be and remain free and accessible to the public, subject to such reasonable regulations as the trustees of the library may adopt. I know this library board did not vote to close the North Valley's library. You violated the NRS by closing it. So as you all are aware, I have been suspended from the library for a year. I filed my appeal on June 27th. Per this suspension policy and the appeal process, I have 10 days to do it in. It has now been 20 days, and I have had no response from the assistant library director, who has the first decision on this, right? So how long am I supposed to wait for a response? Because after 10 days, my rights are waived to an appeal. So technically, maybe it should be waived for my suspension since I've heard nothing. That needs to be fixed. All right, so the reasons I was suspended. Tibbetts was argumentative in story time with staff and security concerning her sign. Here's my sign, 8.5 by 11. Where was it? It was in front of my face, right here. I got harassed. They were in my space, harassing me when I was peacefully protesting. You've seen the video, did you watch it? What did I do wrong? If they would have left me alone, I would have went away peacefully. I feel harassed. I'm scared to come to the library now because the library staff are bullies. So I would not identify my child that I brought with me. They're lying. I had my granddaughter and my grandson with me. Right here, both of them, with me. They didn't expect us to come with kids. They weren't ready for that. They're punishing me, right? So I could not identify, which was crap because they're in my face, they're bullying me, and then they want me to identify my grandson. I'm afraid to point him out. I don't know what they're gonna do to him all of a sudden. And they let my granddaughter leave with somebody else, so they broke the safety protocol if there was one. Man, I have so much more to say.
Thank you. Candace Powell, last individual who is on the sign-up sheet. There's another one I need, thank you. Ms. Powell? Thank you.
Hello, Candace Powell for the record. I'm here to express my absolute unwavering support for our libraries. Over the last month, my kids and I have thoroughly enjoyed our time at the library. We're on a mission to visit all Washoe County Library locations. We have 4 left. My second grader completed the summer reading challenge and was thrilled to receive her book to keep. She thought that was the coolest thing, on top of her big stack of books to borrow for the week. We also learned something new. Did you know that there are moose in Nevada? We learned that at the Department of Wildlife at the Sierra View Library. At the core, libraries are here to provide access to knowledge. However, our libraries go so far beyond that. They fill every conceivable need in our community, from the Kids Cafe to Incline, Say Yes to the Prom Dress. The monthly branch updates are a highlight for me, and I'm grateful for this resource in our community. This is why I expect every member of the board and all of us in this room right now, enjoying our library, enjoying the AC on this hot day, to do everything we can to support the tax override renewal wholeheartedly. 2 cents for every $100 of assessed property value is a small contribution to a community resource that does so much. I'm pleased to see the board move forward with last month's election. However, some actions were alarming. I want to remind you of your duty to our libraries. You chose to apply for this position and to be a public servant. This is a great opportunity for all to review the trustee bylaws, so collectively as a board, you can serve the libraries and our community. I want this board to be successful. I need you to be successful because your actions impact me and my family. I urge the board to revisit the number of policies and procedures highlighted over the past year that were acknowledged to be non-existent or insufficient. Under this new leadership, I have full confidence that the board can create and improve procedures that will support trustees in making decisions free from personal agendas. In closing, I want to support my heartfelt gratitude to the library staff, director, and volunteers. As community members, we owe it to our libraries to support them. They are such a huge resource, consistently going above and beyond for us. It's time we go above and beyond for them.
Thank you. Fred Myers, followed by Victoria Meyer.
Good evening, Fred Meyer for the record. So I, like Ms. Tibbetts, was suspended for a year for nothing, and I mean nothing. You had a demarcation line, probably illegally, I don't even know, up there at the North Valleys. I walked up to the line because I needed to use the restroom at probably 9:45, and she said, well, you can't use the restroom. Other people are flitting about all back in there. I couldn't use the restroom, which was fine. She said, you're gonna have to wait 15 minutes. I said, okay. She said, oh, and move back. And I was like, I said, excuse me? She said, you need to move back, go over to the other side of the parking lot. I said, no, I'm not going to the other side of the parking lot. Why do I need to do that? Well, you can't stand here. So because of that, she called security on me and trespassed me. And so Jeff Scott, I guess, signed off on me being suspended. I expect today, in this meeting, for that to be redressed. I need to know why. You need to pull up whoever it was, she's probably here, one of the library employees, and get me back. It was ridiculous. I mean ridiculous. Mr. Scott has an issue with me, saw my name, boom, signed off on it. He doesn't want me here. None of them want me here. I appreciate the library. I appreciate the people that work here, what they do. Jax, thank you so much for your service to all of us here at the library. But I'm really ticked off, and I expect to be put back on. I'm not gonna stop coming to the library when I didn't do anything wrong. I'll tell you that right now. So, you know, we'll do what we have to do, but I really expect this to be addressed today.
Thank you. Victoria Meyer.
Victoria Meyer, please put my words on the record verbatim. I guess there's been a problem transcribing English.
But you'll need to submit them in writing. We have no capability of tracking them verbatim. We addressed that at a prior board meeting.
Well,
so if you'd like to send us what you've written verbatim, will be in the minutes.
well, as long as it's intelligible and accurate.
It will be because you will have written.
And if I don't, I hope you're stopping the clock here. This is taking up my time. Can you reverse the clock,
We already
please?
stopped the clock, but she's already talking.
Please resume.
Well, I'd like an answer to that question now. So you're not tracking any comments anymore?
This is public comment, and I'm not going to respond to that. We have previously stated that if you wish to have verbatim comments in the record, you should submit them to us in writing.
I have, and they couldn't pass there.
We'll attend to that. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so to address separation of church and state, a little bit of education goes a long way. That phrase is directly out of a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists. Oh, and I don't know what year it would have been, 1802, there we go, January 1, 1802. And it says, I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people which declared that their legislature should, quote, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. So that doesn't mean that the state dictates to us. It means the state needs to stay out of our religious rights, and even if we practice them here in the library. Anyhow, moving on from that topic, I want to thank Trustee Jax for your service so far on the library board, and there's a lot of good things about our libraries here. Drag Queen Story Hour, however, is not one of them. I attended both. I took my granddaughter to one. She became ill in the meeting, in the story hour, and I texted her grandfather, who was outside in the parking lot, and he came up to the doors, and I sent her to the doors, and she was denied exiting. The door was locked, and my granddaughter, who was sick, turns out with 102 temperature, was prevented from leaving into the arms of her grandfather. What the heck is going on here? What kind of a lame, locked doors? You lock kids in. So she went over to try and get a book to sit down and read. And the librarian who was blocking the door, I don't see her here tonight, said, no, you can't read a book. Go sit down. Really? She's in a library. Locked in. Oh, sick. No, you can't read a book. Go sit down. What? So she went into the bathroom because she was feeling ill. I thought she was out with her grandfather. 10 minutes later, she came and sat down by me. I said, why are you back? She said, well, they wouldn't let me out. So I took her to the door where the librarian informed me, no, you can't, she can't leave unless you leave with her.
Time's up, I'm sorry. Thank you.
You need to fix this.
I have no other individuals who have signed up, but if everyone could stop giving me directions, that would be really helpful. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to make public comments?
So I'll Chair, so anyone who wants to make public comment online, just raise your hand so I can see it. And then we'll go ahead with that. So let's say Reba Crump as the first person.
Please
So
proceed.
Reba, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So you may want to write these NRS down so you don't have to research them later, but as of right now, this library board of trustees is once again in violation of open meeting law because in May you received from the Attorney General 4 complaints, all compiled into one letter, which the LBOT is in violation. NRS 241.0365, parentheses 2, requires that you address these in public and agendize it. At your next meeting, you have 30 days to do it. That meeting was June. It's also not agendized at this meeting. So you're piling them up. I don't know what's going on. You don't seem to be being advised, and that's an issue. Secondly, you're in violation of your bylaws right now. In May, yes, you all voted in a new set of bylaws. I hope you read them and understand them because you're now violating them. Trustee Rogers is not allowed to attend if he's not in person. You made a requirement that trustees had to attend in person, and yet you're in violation. And you're in violation again this meeting as he is commenting and will be able to vote and attend on person. There is no room in your bylaws as you did not write them for any exigent circumstances. You did not make it the purview of the chair, you did not make it the purview of anybody. It was black and white. And whoever told you to write your bylaws have got you pinned in a corner right now, and you're in violation. Last but not least, your acoustics in this room is horrific. The people on Zoom are nothing but wah, 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 echo, echo, echo. And it's completely unacceptable. So I hope you have the transcriber to transcribe, and I want my comments read into the record, please, and I will send you a summary of what I sent her today, and that was all I wanted to point out to you. I hope you both are interested now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
So I have a Nevada Patriot. I think this is Barbara. Can you hear us? Barbara, Nevada Patriot, you have your hand up. Nevada Patriot, can you hear us?
Dr. Scott, would you move on?
Yep.
We can always come back if she acknowledges hearing.
Can you hear? Hang on. All right. Nevada Patriot, go ahead. Yeah, we hear you now. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Didn't realize that my mute button was on. For the record, this is Bruce Parks. I just wanted to point out that been attending these library meetings for a number of years. And I've listened to a lot of public comment, both from those on the left and from those on the right. It's my observation, if you go back and you look at the recordings of these meetings, that the majority of the animosity, the hate, is not coming from those on the right. The last time you held a meeting in the South Valley's Library, the executive director for our space was in attendance and made public comment. She stated specifically that she has absolutely no interest in having a conversation with anybody that, well, in her own words, hates her just for existing. Nobody hates her for existing. The fact that the folks on the left are not willing to sit down and have a conversation is very, very telling. It certainly indicates where they're coming from. Where's the hate and the intolerance? I've heard too many times the folks on the right talk about family members, friends, relatives, that they may not necessarily agree with their lifestyle, but they still embrace them as family, friends, whatever. You can choose to be whatever you want to be. What you don't get to choose is to shove your ideology down my throat. I'm opposed to that and will always stand against that. You're certainly entitled to your opinions, and I will defend with my life if necessary your right to express them. I don't try to shove my beliefs down your throat. I don't appreciate you trying to shove yours down mine. So, if we who disagree with one another can't have conversation, even in our disagreement, obviously there's middle ground we can work outward from, and of course we're going to diverge at some point. But even in those divergent points, there's room for compromise. But I'm not seeing or hearing any of that. And I don't understand. If we can't have conversation, bad things happen. In a marriage, it leads to divorce. In a society, it leads to civil war. Is that where we're heading? Is that what those on the folks on the left, is that what they really want? It seems to me that that may be the case. And that I have a very difficult time understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Scott? Yep, go ahead.
Kelsey Penrose, can you hear us?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I would just like to say that it's almost impossible to hear what anybody is saying. Maybe there's an IT person or something. I just wanted to give you feedback that it's very, very difficult for any of us on Zoom to understand what's being said in the room. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Sure, so we don't have anything for the hands raised.
All right. Anyone else from the audience who wishes to make public comment? If not, we'll conclude that section and move on to item number 3, which is approval of meeting minutes from our meeting at Pine Village Library on Wednesday, June 26th. Are there any comments from my colleagues?
Thank you, Chair Silver. I move to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve? Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Call for a vote. Those who approve the meeting minutes? I'm sorry? Comment? Public comment, please.
Incline Village.
And I did write this down this time, since I'm complaining. I read the minutes from the June LBOT meeting. This was what was listed under my name. 3, Gail Townsend spoke on the book she feels needs to be banned from the library. When have I ever said books should be banned? This is what I recall saying. I was not planning on saying anything during public comment, but the person who spoke first, someone from Churchill County, spoke from a Christian nationalist point of view. My comment was in response to his. I pointed out that I'm not a Christian, but I try to respect people's of other faiths or of no faith. I asked for the same respect in return. Then I pointed out that while the library has thousands of books about Christianity, they only have one children's book about the Tao. So if I wanted to share that with my grandson, I would only have one book to choose from. But I concluded by saying I was not concerned about this imbalance because I knew if I found a book that I wanted to share about my religion, that I could make a request to the library and that I was sure that the collections manager would try to help fulfill that request. And those are my comments. I don't think that they should be characterized as asking that books be banned. I have a written statement that I'll give to you, and I would ask that the minutes of the June meeting be corrected and a more accurate paraphrase be used, and I'd suggest number 3, Gail Townsend, said she's not a Christian, but tried to respect other faiths and ask the same respect in return. So I hope you can accommodate that. I do have copies, and since I do have more time, thank you for spelling my name correctly. From now on, I will submit in writing. I won't be lazy. And we seem to be in a reestablishment phase in our country's history. I wanted to learn more about the disestablishment movement in the colonial and early statehood period. I found a book, I asked for it. You got it through interlibrary loan, and thanks very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you. We will see to it that the minutes are corrected. Thank you for your comment about that. I once again urge the public, if you have a public comment to make, that you type it out, write it out in longhand, submit it to us so that we can attach it to the minutes and accurately reflect what you said. This one is fine, thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Mr. Rogers, are you, Trustee Rogers, can you hear this?
I am.
Can we have a call for a vote? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Subject to correction that we've noted here, minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 4. Board comments limited to announcements, strategic plan activity, updates, or issues proposed for future agendas or workshops. I will make the comment as the chair that we are looking at several library policies, and we'll be addressing them. Some are out of date, some need major revisions, and some need deliberation by this board, which will be done in public. So for those of you who have concerns about the suspension policy or other policies, we're going to review those and deliberate during the August meeting in full view of the public. Any comments from my colleagues? Any board comments? Trustee Rogers?
Yes, I would just echo your comments. Thank you for taking the lead up those. I have made suggestions, and I think we're in lockstep on those with others. So again, I look forward to this board moving ahead with those. Again, I think you poised it right with the deliberations and public input as to update. So again, I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
Thank you, Chair Silver. Thank you again. I just wanted to tell my fellow board members I really appreciate the leadership here and the enormous amount of logistics that we go through to make this happen. So I appreciate the priority of being able to spend more time with my kids here over the summer. Quite a lot of work being up here, so I appreciate, and Vice Chair Ruff is not here, but I really appreciate her leadership as well. I just wanted to say that I'm going to be reaching out again to the community at some community events, and I'll share those with everybody. I did want to point out that I hope that the public continues to reach out their support for the board. Continue to give your opinions, email, comments, showing up. We really appreciate everything, and all the board members that I talk to, I think, feel that same way. And you know, it's not easy sometimes to go against the status quo and just trying to navigate who we are and how this whole process works. So I'm happy to continue the work on this board. And in brief, just a brief indulgence, Madam Chair, what happened in May of 2024, just recently, I began doing personal meetings around town, not just personal, in-person meetings around Washow County. And again, trying to glean information and the process and question every department. I had several meetings with Trustee Moser, Vice Chair at the time, with Director Scott. We had in-person meetings with several other leaders in our community, and I spoke with many departments in person, including the CFO of Washow County, the Comptroller, Human Resources, as many district attorneys as I could schedule. Same with the county manager office, the county manager's office. With public comment and speaking with everybody in person, it makes such a difference versus just emailing, which is what a lot of the process, you don't know behind the scenes, so much of the process is completely digital. And it's hard to navigate that when we're such paper people, assumably, here in the libraries. So I wanted to reach out in person, and a lot of the work that I had done, I wanted to continue leading some of these initiatives and some of these agenda items. I too would like to just briefly address the couple commenters. Thank you for speaking today. The item of the director's review agenda item is something I was working on. Spent hundreds of hours since being appointed to this position and trying to navigate all the new policies, the trustee manuals, the bylaws, everything that we're doing here. No other board has ever done before this seated board in September. No other board updated bylaws, policies since about the late 90s. So we are navigating all the forms and all the policies. And I did want to mention the book challenge policy form that the constituents keep referring to as offered by the Washoe County Library. It is a form you can fill out that simply says, what here in our collection do you not like? And they get multiple requests, many requests, from religious to different presidential autobiographies that you don't even know what the library gets, until you do the investigation. They get lots of requests, not lots, but a few enough to say lots of books are challenged. And on that form, it simply says, what would you like us to do if you don't like this particular display, anything within these walls? That's what the library policy form says. What would you like us to do? So it's really open-ended. Do you want us to move it, take it out? I mean, so they're navigating the rules of the forms and things like that. So with regards to the book challenges, I just want everybody to know we're navigating everything from a policy perspective and trying to be fair to all. I'm excited to hear about the tax initiative and the discussion here tonight that we're about to do. So I appreciate your indulgence on just trying to relay some information and acknowledge some of our public who is here today. Madam Chair, thank you.
Trustee Jacks, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for your prior service. You did a lot of work, and I know how much time you spent, and this is not an easy task. We volunteered for this, and we do so because we love libraries. And we want to hear from the public. It's incredibly important that we do. I do not think there's a left or right. This is not a wedding where some guests sit on one side and some on the other. We are a community of people, And our effort is to do several things. My priority is to see revisions to several policies. I've already discussed this with Director Scott, and we will be reviewing policies. As former board chair Jack's referred, many of them are out of date, terribly out of date, and have not been looked at for a very long time. So this board will undertake that effort. We will also be doing development of a revised library director evaluation process and form. And we will maintain an environment of respectful and productive dialogue. I am determined to do that. And that includes turning off your cell phones while you're in this meeting and asking that you not mock or make comments that you think are under your breath but are heard by us. I think that's just respectful decorum, and I would hope we're able to maintain that regardless of how we may differ in our views or beliefs or priorities or ideologies. But thank you, former board chair, for all your hard work. Trustee, I should have said. All right, seeing no further board comments, we will move on to agenda item 5, old business. This is a non-action item, and I don't believe we have any old business. Correct. Moving on, item number 6, new business, which is a presentation by Director Scott on the renewal of the Washow County Library's tax override. So, Mr. Scott, if you would begin your presentation.
Thank you, Joe Silver. Let me get this up. So we've been talking about what we refer to as the Renew Washow County Libraries Initiative, so it's our tax override renewal. So we're working on a number of initiatives to get in front of the public and doing voter education. Our role as the library is to do voter education, talk about all the great things we've done with the tax funding, and then doing the yes vote is someone else's responsibility. So this will focus on what our activities are. So the question So the question in front of voters, the Washow County Board of County Commissioners approved this on the June 18th meeting. We're talking about the renewal of the tax override. On November 5th, Washow County voters will decide whether to extend a 30-year tax dedicated to acquiring, constructing, improving, maintaining, and operating the Washow County Library System. This is a renewal of a 30-year tax, not a new tax. An allotment of 2 cents for every $100 of assessed property value goes directly to Washow libraries. There's not an additional tax from Washow County citizens. Our goal is to maintain the award-winning, outstanding library service Washow County residents have come to enjoy. So the actual question that's going to be before voters is the Washow County question: shall the Board of County Commissioners of Washow County be allowed to levy an ad valorem tax in the amount of up to 2 cents per $100 assessed valuation for a period of 30 years to raise approximately $4.5 million in fiscal year 2025-2026 and thereafter? The amount generated by a levy of up to 2 cents per $100 assessed valuation against the then applicable assessed value of property in the county for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, improving, equipping, operating, and maintaining library facilities for the county. So we talked a little bit about the history of the tax. I think was one of the things people bring up is, what was the origin of the tax? What have we spent with the money in 30 years? We want to make sure voters understand how long this has been in place. So in 1994, Library Director Martha Gould had the vision to sustain libraries for the future. She saw the changes in the property tax in Nevada. We've been here in the 80s. We saw those fortunes change where property tax valuation went to Vegas instead of Northern Nevada, so that revenues in the Washoe County would go down. And then also she saw that Las Vegas Clark County passed their own bond and we're expanding their library system. And so what did she do to make sure that Washoe County libraries are protected and sustained for the future? So her idea was this tax. So the 2 cents for every $100 of assessed value with the county. I actually spoke to a trustee recently, Sandra Scott, who contacted me the other day, and she said that she was on the board when this was originally passed. And so she actually has one of the pins that you had where it had 2 pennies on it to advertise, just 2 little cents for the library. And it was great kind of marketing trick for that, to do that. So it's great to see that history and reaching out of that going forward about what we can do to sustain libraries for the future. All right. So we talked about the history of what we've done with the tax in the last 30 years. We built the Northwest Renal Library. So originally it was a pharmaceutical company in the 90s, went belly up. With this tax, we're able to purchase that facility and renovate it. We're able to build the South Valley's library that we're sitting in right now, the big yellow building, which for years was the only thing standing in this area. And now it's a hub of activity right now. And the Incline Village Library and the Spanish Springs Library. This is the Washoe County Library's weathering the economic recession of 2008, 2016. So during that time period, we had a lot of budget cuts, we had a lot of staff layoffs. The county authorized us to use the tax to make sure some of the staff stayed on instead of laying them off. So we're able to keep staff, on the roll and moving forward. And then more recently, we were able to renovate the North Valley's Library, Downtown Reno Library, Northwest Reno Sparks, and Searview Libraries. That's in conjunction with a number of donations, a county donation, and an expansion tax. So the Aquino Trust was something that came before the board in 2016. It was $900,000 of private donation that went to the library. We negotiated with them to renovate our facilities, and they agreed to that. So with a combination of county funds, expansion tax funds, and private donation, we're able to make the libraries all wonderful as they are. So talking about what happens where the consequences of the pass fail. So if we're able to pass the tax, we're able to continue our march to renovate all of our facilities. As we renovated downtown Sparks and Northwest, we now turn to South Valley's Spanish Springs and Incline Village libraries. And if you recall, I just mentioned those were the new libraries with the tax previously, so now they're starting to show their age. And it's great to see to come back around and do some new carpet, new paint, new furniture at those facilities to make sure we're sustaining for the future. We're also looking to build a new North Valley's library, so we have a large private donation that's going to be contributed to the library. So with this tax, we also contribute to that to build the new North Valley's library. That's a leased facility right now. And then expand library services, as you see with the book wheel services and the book vending machines all throughout the region. We're reaching further into the North Valleys and Spanish Springs regions. We're Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation. We're doing North Valley's area, Cold Springs, Warm Springs, and we're also doing South Valley's region, Washoe Lake, Washoe Valley as well. So the alternative is the tax fails. As a reminder, the tax fails, the tax rate does not go down. Those 2 cents that are dedicated to the library would just go to the general county coffer. So we're making sure we're really clear about that information. So if that tax were to fail, we're not able to get that funding, we'd have Washoe Library laid off. A lot of the expansion taxes have been used for the 7-day work service that we have right now to lose Saturday, Sunday, Monday hours at many of our locations. The book budget will be eliminated. The entirety of our book budget is $1.4 million. That is entirely out of the expansion tax. There's only about $50,000 that comes out of the county budget, which doesn't really go very far. And then technology budget is also taking out of the expansion tax. And then, like as I mentioned, the branches will lose weekend and evening hours. So we had this plan before the board back in November, so this is a recap of that. We had the 3-phase plan. We had the Emerge, Outreach, and Election. So the Emerge was developing the action plan, showing it for the board, raising awareness of the tax override. What this comes from is the Every Library Handbook, which is basically looking at the library as a political candidate. So if you look at the elections, you know when someone's going to run for office, they write a book, and then they go on talk shows. That's kind of the emerging. And so as a library, we're also trying to emerge to let people know that we're here, and we've been here serving the public for over 120 years, and we're looking to sustain our libraries for the future.